चलिए शुरू करते हैं।
Guys, it's time to start finally after a long time और ये एक बहुत ही अच्छी बात है because what we have with us right now is a very strong and powerful DPDP bill which is Digital Personal Data Protection Bill एंड मैं बैठा हूँ फिलहाल राजीव सर के साथ में। सर हमने रिसेंटली मुलाकात किया था। वेलकम वंस अगेन,
थैंक यू
टू द शो। एंड आज आई थिंक हम बात करने वाले हैं, लास्ट टाइम हमने चिप्स के बारे में बात किया था एंड आज का जो पूरा कॉन्टेक्स्ट है इट्स अबाउट डेटा, it's more importantly about the data privacy.
Correct.
And especially about the personal data privacy.
Correct.
In the digital domain.
Absolutely.
तो guys आपको बहुत सारे सवाल हैं, I mean you know आपके मन में आते होंगे at times कि ये बड़ी बड़ी कंपनीज हमारे डेटा का क्या करती हैं, is it safe or not, या how you know is the data being processed। बहुत सारी चीज़ों के आज शायद आपको बहुत एक आसान भाषा में जवाब मिलने वाले हैं straight from राजीव सर। तो जल्दी से आगे बढ़ते हैं इस वीडियो में, चलिए शुरू करते हैं। सर शुरुआत हम करते हैं 2010 का टाइम, जब आपने प्राइवेट मेंबर्स बिल एक जो है उसके साथ में शुरुआत किया था। व्हाट वाज द आइडिया, ये कैसे आपको लगा कि इट इज़ इम्पॉर्टेंट एंड हाउ हैज बीन द जर्नी उस टाइम से लेके आज तक इन अ ब्रीफ।
देखिए 2010 में यूपीए की सरकार ने 2004 से 14 तक उनका सरकार था, दे केम अप विद दिस आधार, दे वर स्टार्टेड कलेक्टिंग अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल्स डेटा ऑन आधार एंड आई फाउंड एज अ मेंबर ऑफ पार्लियामेंट दोज डेज कि बहुत सारा ये आधार का डेटा बड़ा लूजली अवेलेबल होता था। और मैंने पार्लियामेंट में एक दिन, मुझे याद है, पालिका बाजार में जाके मैंने 50 रुपये पर एंट्री, मैंने 4-5 ऐसे एंट्री खरीद कर मैंने पार्लियामेंट में दिखाया कि देखिए इतना आसान है और आपका और हमारा डेटा मिलना।
लाइक किसी का भी, मतलब
किसी का भी, वो इतना लीकी डेटाबेस था कि किसी का भी एड्रेस, बायोमेट्रिक, नाम, पता सब मतलब बहुत आसानी से मिल जाता था।
मतलब कुछ डिटेल्स आपके पास में अगर हों तो बची हुई सारी डिटेल्स आपको मिल जाएंगी।
हाँ, तो ये होता था और वो एक तरह से एक माहौल बन गया था, क्योंकि डिजिटाइजेशन का दौर भी एक तरह से शुरू हो रहा था विद आधार। लेकिन तब का सरकार डिड नॉट थिंक इट इज सच अ बिग इशू। और मुझे याद है काफी सारे लोग थे जिन्होंने कहा कि ये बड़ा एक एलिटिस्ट कॉन्सेप्ट है, आप खामखा ये एक एयर कंडीशन लिविंग रूम वाली चीज को उठा रहे हैं और ये कोई मायना नहीं रखता है और कोई इसके बारे में किसी को परेशानी नहीं।
I mean not important for the masses.
Not important for the masses and it doesn't matter and you are just raking up a non-issue. और एडिटोरियल 1-2 हुए थे वगैरह। तो मैंने कहा इसको थोड़ा अवेयरनेस क्रिएट करने के लिए पार्लियामेंट में एक I will bring a private members bill and I brought that private members bill and then 2 years later I followed that up with a public interest litigation in the Supreme Court along with a few other people from Bengaluru, Justice Puttaswamy and Colonel Matthew and so on and so forth. Because I always believed very passionately then and I believe it today कि हमारे citizens के जो personal data हैं, the personal data of any citizen should be used only lawfully. It should never be misused and exploited. And we have seen now over the last decade, there are many companies who have created whole businesses out of misusing and exploiting personal data.
Yeah.
And while they have gone ahead and made a lot of money, etc., the Nagrik, the citizen whose data it was never enjoyed either the monetization benefit or were the victims of the misuse and the exploitation. So I felt very strongly about it. But you know, I said recently, I think till 2014 there are many things that we all wanted and felt strongly about that could never be done. But it took Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji and it took in 2017 Supreme Court on August 24th, यही महीने में, August 24th 2017 they found privacy is a fundamental right. और प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी immediately उन्होंने कहा कि हमें एक legislation लाना है and then the rest is history as you know.
Sir, how important do you think, because अभी हम बात करते हैं you know everything is going digital.
Yes.
हम digitally ही सारा काम करते हैं हमारा and you know like if you kind of compare today's scenario with let's say 30 years in the past, so I think there is not really any comparison. So आज के time में digital data protection like how important is it?
It is very important. It is very vital because the digital footprint of every citizen is only increasing. If you look at it 10 years ago, you maybe had one social media platform, one e-commerce platform. Aaj your details, your accounts, you are dealing with not just 1 or 2 or 3 platforms, you are dealing with a whole series of platforms. मीडिया के लिए एक प्लेटफॉर्म, ई कॉमर्स के लिए एक प्लेटफॉर्म या 10 प्लेटफॉर्म, आप कपड़े कहीं और से खरीद रहे हैं, आप सोशल मीडिया में कर रहे हैं, चैट कर रहे हैं मैसेंजर प्लेटफॉर्म से। तो हमारे इन आवर लाइफ टुडे आवर वर्ल्ड इज सो डिजिटाइज दैट व्हाट आई कॉल द डिजिटल फुटप्रिंट हैज एक्सपैंडेड एंड इज वेरी वेरी सिग्निफिकेंट। नाउ इफ वी आर लीविंग एज सिटीजन सच अ लार्ज फुटप्रिंट एज वी travel around the internet, conducting our business, pleasure, whatever, it must be also realized that there are people who are going to misuse that digital footprint. And that is why this digital personal data protection bill that the Prime Minister insisted that we legislate very quickly and very fast is a very important way that whatever presence or whatever data you give to somebody, उसका कभी misuse ना हो. It should never be misused, it should never be exploited, and it should be, as a matter of fact, it is defined in this bill, it should only be used for the purposes that you have agreed to. So if you have given your data to, let us say, a food delivery platform, certainly that food delivery platform, without your consent, cannot use it for some AI platform or cannot use it for advertising, targeting you, cannot use it to profile you. So there are many guardrails and curbs that have been put. And I use this phrase that the practice of misuse and exploitation, there is a brake that has been put on it by this bill.
So one example would want to take from you, because मैं जब at times guys whenever I speak to you, मैं जब भी बात करता हूँ subscribers से, अपने viewers से ना, तो एक common जो thought निकल के आता है वो ये कि मेरे डेटे का कोई क्या ही करेगा. I am just a common man. I am like one of the 1.3 billion that we have. So individually मेरा डेटा जो है वो किसी के लिए क्या ही ज़रूरी होगा. If you can put in some light, sir, कि मतलब how serious of an issue it is that you need to be
yes,
kind of in charge of your data.
Very good question, and I think it's very relevant because the whole argument was मैं तो एक छोटा आदमी हूँ या छोटा व्यक्ति हूँ, मेरे डेटा से क्या बड़ा मुसीबत है, किसी मुझे तो कुछ प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. लेकिन इसका क्या है कि आज के दुनिया में विथ आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस, विथ एल्गोरिदम्स, यू, योर नेम, योर कॉन्डक्ट, योर बिहेवियर, योर एड्रेस, योर चॉइसेस ऑन द इंटरनेट, all can be used not only for the good of that platform and for monetization and benefit of the platform, it can also be used against you. It can be used to deny you some services, it can be used to force you into some choices. So therefore आपका जो आइडेंटिटी है, आपका जो फुटप्रिंट है, आपके लाइफ के जो पर्सनल डिटेल्स हैं, these are very very important, and that is why this privacy is an important thing. That it should never be used against you or used by somebody who's misusing it. And in the old days when the digital footprint and the digitization was not so great, that personal data did not mean very much. क्योंकि ठीक है, आप मेरे नेबर हैं, आपके मैंने टेलीफोन नंबर ले लिया, आपका नाम और एड्रेस मेरे पास है, मैं क्या करूंगा उसका? I know. आपको तो लेटर लिखना नहीं है मुझे. Yes. अब मैं नहीं लिखूंगा. बट डिजिटल वर्ल्ड में इस पर्सनल डेटा का एक अलग से इंपॉर्टेंस रहता है, एंड इट कैन बी यूज्ड इन वेज दैट इवन टुडे वी डोंट अंडरस्टैंड,
बिकॉज एवरीथिंग इज कनेक्टेड
एंड सम ऑफ द पावरफुल मॉडल्स दैट आर बीइंग बिल्ट बाय दीस कंपनीज, behavioral models, foundational models, all essentially exploit personal data. And you may think कि मैं छोटे शहर से हूँ, I'm from a small town, what does it matter? But it does matter. It is the same way of saying, why do I think a constitutional right to free speech is important? When it is required, you should be able to exercise that right.
Yeah.
So it is not that you need to exercise the right of privacy every day. You don't need to exercise the right to data protection every day.
जब
जरूरत पड़े. So कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल राइट्स का जो मतलब है, इट इज दैट यू एज अ सिटीजन आर गारंटीड दोज राइट्स. उसका आपको यूज अभी या importance, if you know it or not, it is a right that you should know you have
something,
and at some time in the future you will certainly require it.
So for example in EU we saw the GDPR, and globally अलग-अलग countries में, अलग-अलग regions में अलग-अलग laws हैं, इंडिया में अभी तक we didn't have a strong digital act. So अभी तक of let's say all the giants operating, or if not giants, like anyone in the digital space operating, do you think that there would be a change in kind of their operations after this bill, कि अभी तक जैसा वो operate कर रहे थे?
नहीं, जैसे मैंने कहा, or what I said just now, there is going to be a sharp break as in BRAKE on this practice of many platforms misusing and exploiting personal data. एक तो break. Second is overall there is going to be a deep behavioral change. and there is going to be a much more respectful and accountable relationship between platforms and the citizens whose data they seek to deliver a service. ये जो asymmetry था, उसका asymmetry will become now balanced. That the citizen will feel strongly that he or she has rights, and the platform will now recognize that he or she has obligations to the citizen. So this asymmetry, which has been all around the world for many years, is now being levelized, is being balanced. And that is a very important aspect for India, because in 2014 there were very few Indians online. Today we have 83 crore Indians. We are the largest connected country in the world.
Yes.
And in 25-26 the Prime Minister's vision is to get 120 crores Indians to be on the internet. और उसका मतलब ये है कि the largest community of users on the internet anywhere in the world are going to be the Indian internet. So he wants the internet in India to be useful for every Indian, बूढ़ा हो या बच्चा हो, महिला हो, women or man, digitally very literate, digitally not so literate, rural, urban. They are all going to use the internet for their business, for their money, for their government, for their benefits. And therefore, we should make sure that their personal data, the relationship that platforms have with them is of utmost respect, and like I said, about obligations and accountability.
So at times, because we are like such a strong digitally connected country,
Correct.
and any news propagates very fast. वो सही हो या गलत हो, बहुत तेजी से फैलती है. एंड इसके हमने कई बार नेगेटिव्स भी देखे हैं. अगर वो एक फेक न्यूज़ है फॉर एग्जांपल, एंड प्लेटफॉर्म्स के ऊपर बस वो सर्कुलेट अगर हो रहा है, सो हाउ स्ट्रॉन्ग ऑफ अ कंट्रोल would we have over fake news with this bill? Is there any provision?
So let me just say this, that this bill, the Digital Personal Data Protection Bill, is the first sort of a marker on the ground that the Prime Minister wants in terms of legislation for the India decade for a $1 trillion digital economy. इसके बाद बहुत जल्द एक हम लॉ लेकर आएंगे कॉल्ड डिजिटल इंडिया एक्ट.
ओके.
उसमें जो सेफ्टी और ट्रस्ट का इश्यूज है, जो आपने कहा फेक न्यूज हो, हेट स्पीच हो, डॉक्सिंग हो, गैस लाइटिंग हो, all these very unique crimes that are unique to the cyberspace. Today, where there is people believe there is no punishment, there is no penalty.
They are just hiding behind a
They are
virtual,
hiding behind the internet.
Yeah.
They are either hiding anonymously or they are even in plain sight. They don't care because they know you cannot punish them. So all those issues are going to be addressed in the Digital India Act, which very soon, before the end of August, we will start consultation as a final draft. And we think between these two bills, the framework of 120 crore Indians using the internet with safety, with trust, knowing fully well कि कोई भी कुछ harm करता है, crime करता है, उसके नतीजे होंगे, there will be consequences, that personal data cannot be misused. So with that safety and trust and accountability, every Indian citizen should be able to use the internet without fear and with full confidence. This is Prime Minister's vision, that the internet should be a force for good. Technology in India should empower Indians. And so therefore, you cannot empower Indians if they are worried about कोई misuse कर रहा है अपने data को, या कोई मुझे fake news से भड़का रहा है. तो ये सब एक तो DPDP से और दूसरा अलग हम DIA से करेंगे.
Digital India Act. Guys, I'm sure you all have seen this, and sir मैंने भी देखा सर्कुलेट होते हुए. जब से हमने देखा इस बिल को कि ये पास हो गया है, there has been kind of a notion going on कि what does this bill mean? कि now government has access to all your data. Would you want to clarify that?
Look, I want to tell you very clearly that it is clear that this is a very modern, very future-ready legislation that has been carefully designed and carefully built, keeping in mind citizens' rights, innovation ecosystem का आगे बढ़ाना, और सरकार को जो government must have emergency access in the event of a national security incident. Terrorism के बाद मैं तो जाके consent नहीं मांगूंगा ना, देखिए मुझे आपका data चाहिए, आप consent देंगे. So terrorism, earthquakes, pandemic, ऐसे carved out
the national
special
issues.
Emergency issues, the government will have access to your personal data. That is it. Apart from that, the government and the private sector have the same obligations to protect the data. इसमें गवर्नमेंट को एक स्पेशल दर्जा दिया गया है, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. अगर आप पढ़ेंगे, if somebody reads it, all this propaganda that is by deliberate, in my opinion, will be proved to be false. This is an absolutely future ready bill that protects the constitutional right to privacy, that gives the government lawful exemptions to access personal data in the event of emergencies. And this narrative कि सरकार के पास सब है, सरकार के पास अगर डेटा भी है, सरकार को भी उस डेटा को डेटा प्रोटेक्ट करना पड़ेगा.
Because everything falls under the
same obligations.
So one last question before we conclude is in the past we have seen कि मीटी ने काफी बार अलग-अलग games या applications को ban किया in the past over issues of let's say data security या फिर the servers were not in our own country, वो कहीं बाहर data store कर रहे हैं, data अगर जा रहे हैं. So अभी with this DPDP bill, is that also taken care of that anyone operating in India will need to store the data of the Indian users within country?
So what we have said is the following, that if you are a data platform operating in India, which we refer to as data fiduciary, you are allowed to process the data and use the cloud anywhere in the world.
ठीक है.
Unless the government of India specifies that this geography you cannot use the cloud, this country you cannot use the cloud because it is either untrusted, it is leaky, or because the law cannot be applied there.
Okay.
So we are very clear that we are focusing on safety and trust. हम localization यहीं पे करना है, हमने उस प्रावधान को नहीं लाया है क्योंकि हम we feel that a startup should be given the opportunity to use an Indian cloud, and if there's a better option or a better innovation cloud in the US or in Japan or in Singapore, they should be able to use a cloud there as well. So we have not said you must do it here, but certainly we have created the power for the government to ban the territories which we believe are not trusted.
So one question comes to my mind. मेरे को apps और games से याद आया. You must have experienced yourself as well कि whenever we install a new app or new game in our phones, and why I'm saying phones because the biggest kind of input output point for any normal citizen is a smartphone.
Absolutely.
Digital world के
That
लिए.
is the device.
अब वहाँ पे let's say किसी ने एक calculator की application को install किया. Now that application is just meant to do calculations.
Correct.
While installing, it will ask for permission about, let's say, your contacts or your location or your camera or your files stored in the phone, multiple such permissions. And let's say if the user is not literate enough and उसको समझ में नहीं आ रहा, उसने केवल okay किया and all the permissions given. अब उस case में, let's say if the app is kind of having the wrong intent कि because the app can say that customer ने तो खुद ने ही okay किया था, that has given us the authority to process the data, how does
that will all come to an end. Because one of the things that this bill insists on is that you can only take data with a consent. तो वो हो गया consent, आपने कहा ठीक है consent दे देंगे,
गलती से अगर हो गया.
लेकिन हमने कहा ये informed consent होना चाहिए, multiple languages में होना चाहिए. अगर मैं हिंदी स्पीकिंग हूँ, आपने अंग्रेजी का 2 पेज का consent form डाल दिया और मुझे कंफ्यूज कर दिया, ये नहीं चलेगा.
सर वो EULA सबने हमने बिना पढ़े हुए ओके किया है.
ओके करें. तो ये अलग अलग भाषाओं में होगा, शेड्यूल 8 के भाषाओं में होगा. और हमने ये भी कहा कि अगर किसी को पूरे तरह से he cannot read or write, they should be also providing, they should have a choice of providing visual कि इसका मतलब ये है करके. तो एक तो कंसेंट हुआ. दूसरा is very clearly put in law that if you are a platform and you are providing technical Guruji a service, जैसे मैंने कहा आप food delivery platform,
जी,
I cannot ask you all kinds of extraneous
for my camera, let's say,
camera, your phone, your contacts,
files, and
your
stuff.
Grandmother's address, your astrology sign. You cannot ask you all that. You can only ask what is absolutely required to deliver the service. So if you are an app and you're an app store or you're downloading an app and the app is, let's say you say calculator. Now calculator need not know your global positioning, need not know your location, need not have access to your contacts. And the moment you do that, if somebody does that, it is in violation of the law.
So that is like relief to be honest.
एकदम, इसीलिए मैं I use in English this misuse and exploitation. And in misuse and exploitation, I can give you a whole 2 घंटे का कहानी, chapter and verse.
I know.
So that will all come to a halt. And the most important thing of this bill is you as a citizen. Let's assume you are not a lawyer, you are just a simple person working day going to your work. If you find that something has been breached, you just simply have to go to a digital website, give the name of the platform, give your name, this is the complaint, 5 मिनट का काम है, कंप्लेंट चले जाता है DPP, दे विल देन स्विंग इनटू एक्शन।
विल बी टेकन केयर।
कोई लॉयर की जरूरत नहीं, कोई 1000 पेज का पिटिशन की जरूरत नहीं, एवरीथिंग इज डिजिटल एंड वी विल मेक श्योर बिकॉज ऑफ दिस फ्रेमवर्क द प्लेटफॉर्म्स आर ऑलवेज अकाउंटेबल टू द सिटीजन हु इज रियली the principal stakeholder in all democracies.
So I think it is definitely a very strong tool for all the citizens, because at times हमने देखा है that let's say people who are kind of harassed online, जिनको लेके online people at times blackmail, they kind of again manipulate stuff and post.
I have seen, like I said, इस topic पे तो 2 घंटे का चर्चा हो सकता है कि क्या-क्या exploitation हो रहा है.
So I think वो सब as easy if it gets ki just one complaint and the action will be taken care of.
Absolutely right.
So yeah. So guys, there you have it, straight from Rajeev sir, and again I'll try to kind of give you the link of this bill in detail in the description, so aap jaake zarur padhna, and it's available in all the languages, so make sure that you read. It's very lean, it's very simple, easy to understand.
It's very simple language. You don't need a law degree. You don't need any degree to understand this bill.
PIB का एक 3 पेज का PDF है, मैं आपको उसका लिंक दूंगा, so that you get to know about all the features of this particular bill, and going forward we'll again have the DIA in place. तो बहुत सारी चीजें coming in, because if we are looking for the India decade, everything should come along.
Absolutely.
And
that is the Prime Minister's vision.
Yeah.
That we move forward, but we move forward with an enabling framework.
Yeah, मतलब we should not even stop the speed.
Exactly.
वो भी ना रुके और
तेजी बढ़े.
Yeah. So guys, there you have it. मैं in fact कोशिश करूँगा एक और detailed वीडियो बनाने की, थोड़ा सा एक अलग तरीके से, because what I've been doing is every Sunday I'm doing a video about all the scams going on online, and I try to I've been working with the I4C and the cybercrime, sir, वहाँ से they give me the information that this is the latest scam, and I try to kind of reach out to the masses कि आप कैसे उनसे बच सकते हैं. So now going on with the Digital Protection Act, अभी हमारे पास में in this DPDP मैं आपको बताने वाला हूँ details में, so that you are even aware and kind of responsible, and you need to know the importance of your own data. वो बहुत कीमती है आपके लिए, तो उसको बचा के रखना है, and I think government is giving you all the power so that it stays protected. Guys, अभी के लिए इस वीडियो में इतना ही. मैं आपसे मिलता हूँ सीधा नेक्स्ट वीडियो में. जय हिंद, वंदे मातरम.